Cursed. Cursed.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Tomb of Terrors with me, Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another episode, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review on your favorite podcast app or become a patron, patreon.com/oldmanbrad. Also, make sure to follow me over on Letterboxd so you can see all my watches. And I've started doing additional reviews over on my YouTube page, Old Man Brad Pod. Go check them out. This episode, I have an interview with writer-director Daniel J. Phillips, and we're going to talk about his new film, Diabolic, which hits theaters February 13th, and then it hits digital the following week on February 20th. This is an interesting possession film. I'll dive into that here when we talk about the movie. Before we dive into Diabolic, I want to say if you are in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. So excited to be partnered with the Esquire Theater to host a screening each month. And our screening for February, on February 20th, is Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace. This is one of my favorite Bava movies, really close, just behind Black Sunday. But we're doing some Italian movies to kick off the year. We did Deep Red in January, Blood and Black Lace this month. Next month, Don't Torture the Duckling. But come out February 20th at 10 p.m. and let's watch a movie together. All right, let's get possessed with Diabolic.
These blackouts are ruining my life.
Hey, Luis, honey, hey.
I can't live like this.
I found some healers from your old church. There is one last thing we can try.
You have called upon us because we are healers of the natural order. Joseph Smith promised his converts of the true Mormon faith visions of the Lord. Some people feel euphoria. Some are anxious. Some feel impending doom.
A woman's hope for a miracle cure turns into a nightmare when she confronts the vengeful spirit of a cursed witch, determined to claim her as a vessel for her evil power. Written and directed by Daniel J. Phillips, this stars John Kim, Elizabeth Cullen, Terrence Crawford, Luca Asta Sardellis, and many others. As I said, this comes out in theaters on February 13th. Comes out on demand February 20th from Brainstorm Media. This is an interesting take on a possession movie. You know, possession movies, you usually see like, you know, The Omen, things with The Conjuring, The Exorcist, and other said movies like that. They usually take place in the Catholic Church. This one deals with the Mormon Church, but it's a division of the Mormon Church, the FLDS, the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is a division of the Mormon Church that broke off, and they're considered more of a cult than anything else because polygamy went against the rules. They, you know, the regular church said no, and they're like, you know what, we still want this. So they broke off. They become kind of this cultish type sect of the church. So it's interesting that we get a possession movie based around the Mormon faith rather than, you know, Catholicism or other areas such as that. Ultimately, I enjoyed this movie. There are some scenes in this that kick ass. I'm not going to dive much more than that into the film. I'll talk to you a little bit more after my interview, but let's jump into my interview with Daniel, and I will talk to you on the other side. My guest today has been part of such films as Awoken and The Red Book Ritual. His new film, Diabolic, takes us on a dark journey with a woman who is trying to escape an evil spirit. I want to welcome in writer-director Daniel J. Phillips. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Now, the big question, you've probably gotten this a lot, you know, this is a possession movie. In most possession movies, kind of, you know, it's the Catholic Church or anything. This one, you're you're in the world of the Mormon church, which it's a side you don't see in a horror movie ever. What possessed you to go that route with your film?
Yeah, well, I think, certainly, as you say, like there's a lot of possession films out there, and most of them are kind of based in that world of Catholicism, which we're all really, really familiar with. And many of those are great. There's a lot of great possession Catholic films that are out there. And my first movie is kind of a Catholic possession film, But I'd never seen anything about the Mormon Church done in this way, and certainly not about the FLDS. And I'm personally really excited and interested by cults, and the FLDS is the cult of cults, So that's kind of what attracted me to it. It's just such a rich kind of tapestry for lore and visuals with the FLDS, and they're certainly ready to have a shot taken at them as well, I think, given some of the things they're doing. So,
like, as you were kind of coming up with the idea and researching, what kind of things, like digging into the church, like how did your research go for the film? Well,
the origination of the idea and how it came together, it's sort of a concept of mine combined with a concept of Mike Harding's, and Mike Harding's married to Tisha Madsen, and the true story elements of the film happened to Tisha. So she was in the Mormon church, and all of those things really happened to her, not the witch parts, obviously, but the other parts. So she was a really, really good resource as sort of firsthand experience of what life is like in the Mormon church. And that's where most of that sort of source material came from. But, I read Under the Banner of Heaven and, watched everything that's out there about the FLDS. And there's a lot more now than there was kind of a few years ago when we were starting to sort of develop everything. And just kind of looking at kind of as many stories and firsthand accounts as we could of people who had left the FLDS or people who had seen it firsthand. And it really is like a prison for many of these people who are kind of living there, people who want to get out. But there's also people who love it, who want to be there and want to stay there and keep the other people in, So there's sort of certainly a lot to mine there from a story perspective.
Your lead in the movie, played by Elizabeth Cullen, she goes through... let's just say she kind of goes through hell throughout, our arc of the film. How did you go about kind of setting that emotion and that tension with her?
Well, I think it was, Elizabeth is just amazing in this movie. I think if her performance wasn't what it is, I don't think the movie would have worked at all. I think she's so good in the film. And when we originally discussed it, we talked about it from an intellectual perspective and then from an emotional perspective, and really discussed Elisa's arc in massive detail, and also talked about the difference between the different roles within the roles. So she's sort of playing Elise in the present, she's playing Elise in the past as the FLDS, and then she plays where she goes later on in the film, which are all really different characters that have different voices and, all kinds of things. So she's really playing three roles in one, not to mention the physicality of the role, that she was such a trooper every day doing all these, really difficult things. But I guess it was just, on a moment-by-moment basis, we just spent a lot of time talking about, because obviously you shoot the film out of order and really discussing, okay, this is where we are here, and where, this is the emotional context of this is this is that. And she just nailed it every time. Like, I don't think there was never a direction where I had to give her, I was like, oh, this is like too much, or it was more just about fine details and nuance, because she's just so good and she really understood what we were doing, which is why the performance is so consistent throughout, I think.
And were there any scenes or moments that you could think of as you're filming that you were like, whoa, it like surprised you? You weren't expecting what she came with.
Yeah, I remember in the first week, and it's always the way, you've just got to shoot the toughest stuff in the first week for some reason. It's just being punished from above or something. But the one of the scenes we had to shoot was the scene with her parents, which, for those who've seen the film will know sort of what I'm talking about. It's a incredibly emotional, taxing scene, and kind of the heart of the movie for me. It's certainly the scene that I'm most proud of as a director is that scene. That scene in particular, when we approached that, she just brought something to it that elevated it much bigger than anything I could have done with the writing or the directing, to bring it to a point that just broke my heart. And it was just so amazing what she did there. And the other actors in that scene as well are incredible too. Like, everyone's really, really on their A game there. And it was the only scene in the whole shoot where we had shot everything, and then we still had extra time at the end of the day. And the first AD was like, we've got extra time. What do you want to shoot? And I'm like, what do you mean we've got extra time? That's impossible. Normally we're always like, come on, we got to go. But, you're always like breaking your balls to finish on time. And we were able to spend some time and explore and play and do some things that every filmmaker wants the time to be able to do. So that was probably the most surprising, was that scene and what she brought to it.
When I've talked to many directors, and that's usually one thing that they say is, I wish we had more time.
Oh God, yes.
More days of shooting, more this, more that. Speaking of that, is there anything kind of on through, shooting, whether it's time, whether it's the location, that you kind of had to kind of change the scene or anything as you're shooting, like, this isn't going to work quite as it did in the script, kind of when you started, without giving anything away?
Yeah, I'll try and do that. There's one of the scenes at the end that sort of involves a car and someone doing something to that car. That's probably the best way I can say it. Originally, that scene was much more elaborate, and it was going to be, the car was going to be in motion when all of that was happening. We just couldn't do that. We just didn't have the money or the time to do it. We really had to, that whole sequence there had to be shot in over 2 nights, which ended up being about 6 hours of time, which in making a movie time is like 3 minutes when you're trying to do something complicated with cars and practical effects and blood and stunt people and all kinds of stuff. So that was the most challenging. But there was just a bit of a reality check to me at that point when I was sort of told, it's like, look, I just don't think we've got the time to do this. We haven't done, enough prep for this to get it right in the time we've got. We need a whole extra day to be able to do something like this. You've got to come up with a solution. And that was like, on the day, like the day of. So I'm frantically rewriting the scene to figure out something that is still really cool and scary, but also fits in with everything else we've done and everything else we're going to do after that to make sure that it fits in with everything, So there's a lot of pressure there to get that right. But I was really happy with the way that scene turned out, I think. And I think audiences have really responded to that scene too. So yeah, it's for the best.
As we kind of come towards the end, we got a couple minutes left. What are you hoping, once audiences really kind of dive into this film, what do you kind of hope the audiences take away from it?
Well, I hope that people can see some of the more sort of deeper sort of thematic questions we're asking when we're making a movie like this. I think that some takes I've seen are kind of maybe just see the surface level of the film without sort of really trying to understand, why we've made the film that we've made or what we're trying to say about, what happens with Elisa's journey. What is the representation of LaRue as the witch? Like, what is she actually representing? I think that the most interesting sort of takes on the film that I've seen are those that sort of look a little bit deeper to understand that we're intending anyway to inject it with some pretty big themes and ideas and subtext there that hopefully people see and take away from it. So that's my wish.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody to go check out Diabolic. I enjoyed it. My favorite part was the cold open. I absolutely loved it. I was like, all right, I'm in. Let's go. As we head out, where can people kind of follow along to you and follow the, whatever you have next or the journey with Diabolic?
Yeah. We'll be promoting a bunch of stuff through different types of channels. There's the Diabolic Movie Instagram. There's my personal Instagram. So that's probably the best place to get some updates on things that are happening on an ongoing basis. But we're putting out a lot of stuff at the moment as well to promote the film through the distributor and our PR company. So should be a lot of stuff out there.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to chat with me today.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks so much.
I want to thank Daniel again for taking time out of his day to chat with me. It was awesome to hear a little bit of the background of diving into the FLDS church and where he came up with the idea for it. How it was, a little bit of a different possession movie, but familiarity through it. So this movie it's about this woman. She's blacking out. There are things that happen to her, and she kind of comes to in other areas of like, how did I get here? What happened? What's going on? And she's trying to figure out what the hell is going on with her. The movie itself starts out with a really cool cold open exorcism that you get, like old school kind of, we got to get this evil out of you before, we get our title card, Diabolic. And then you jump to this woman later on. She can't remember things. She doesn't remember a lot of this time in her life where she ends up going back to this church. It is a place she was at long ago, but she doesn't remember anything that happens there. Kind of put it out of her mind. And it is kind of one of those things like you hear stories of people who have been in cults or been ingrained in something so far that they have no memory of it when they get out and get away. So she goes back. She's going through everything to try to see if she can stir up memories, stir up things that have happened to try to figure out why she keeps blacking out, basically, why things keep happening to her. I mean, there are many things at this camp place that happen. I mean, they're taking drugs, and one of the things that is they take hallucinogens to be able to get closer to the spiritual realm and be able to answer questions and talk to the powers that be. There are some scenes with that. It gets kind of tense. I wrote down in some notes that said, hallucinogens can be killer. Let's just say that. There is one kill in this movie that's fucking awesome. I loved it. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it will ruin that impact when you watch this movie, but it's pretty cool what this possessed person does to another person. Let's just say there's bone involved. That's all I'm going to say. I said at the beginning that you get some possession familiarity. There is pieces of the story that you're like, okay, this is a possession film. I've kind of been here before with a dark entity kind of taking over of what is happening. There's stories as we kind of move along where she figures out more of what happened in her past, more of what happened to her and to someone else involved at this church or this encampment or whatever you want to call it. And as we kind of get deeper into the story, as it gets darker and the possession fully takes form, when that full possession happens, it starts to get really good. It really takes off. I was into the movie, like the cold open was awesome. I was into the movie as we're trying to figure out this cult encampment place as she's getting more of her story. And then when a full possession happens and it turns into this full bore of like, oh shit, you better watch out now. It's on. It was really cool. And this is where we get one of the kills that I love. When we get to the end is pretty satisfying and dark. It kind of sets it up like, oh, we could possibly see more in this world further if they wanted to continue on. Not sure it's really necessary, but we could if they wanted. I kind of like how it left it of like, okay, it's open that we could continue, but it's also a nice closure to this one story that I found very satisfying the way it ended. Overall, I think this is a very solid possession film. If you love movies with possessions and dark entities, I think you're going to like this. Like if you love, all those films like The Omen, The Exorcist, The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, which I really enjoy. It is far better than it had any reason to be. I thought that movie was going to suck, but it was good. And there are some others out there. I mean, there are so many out there. But this one is a solid watch. I'd recommend it, especially if you love possession movies with some good, dark, possessed kills and a nice, dark story. Diabolic hits theaters on February 13th, and then we get it out on digital on the 20th. So watch for it. And as I head out, I got a double feature with you. This is an easy double feature to pair because, I wanted to do it with another possession movie, and it was one of those like, do I want to tell you to go with The Pope's Exorcist, which I don't pair it with that. I still think that you should watch that one. The other Russell Crowe movie, The Exorcism, not as good. Let me just tell you that. We could do the Conjuring movies. We could do, The First Omen, which is really good. I love The First Omen a lot, like a lot. The one I want to pair it with, it has some mixed reviews on it. Some people hate it. Some people enjoy it. It was one that I really liked when I saw it, and that is Pray for the Devil. I think you Pray for the Devil, Diabolic pair as your double feature because you kind of get, your two sides of possession. This one is the Roman Catholic Church, nuns training to deal with exorcism and everything else. I really liked Pray for the Devil. That's why I want to add it as my double feature this week. Pray for the Devil, Diabolic. Go check them out. Well, that will do it for this episode of Tomb of Terrors. Just make sure you subscribe to the show so you don't miss anything that happens over here. Whether it's these interview episodes, reviews, the short reviews, versus Tales from Tubi, or you definitely want to stay tuned for the Year of Paul Naschy, where I'll be doing a Paul Naschy movie every month throughout the year. We already did Frankenstein's Bloody Terror back in January. Here in a couple weeks, you'll hear Bede from Bede versus the Living Dead coming on to talk our next film, Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman. Just subscribe and you won't miss any of that. And if you want additional reviews and content, please subscribe to the YouTube channel where I do more from the tomb, where you get additional reviews, as well as Discs of the Damned, where I'm going through my physical media collection. But go check those out. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.